Hello and welcome to another Lightstep incident response video overview. Today we're going to be talking about a new alert grouping feature, which is a great feature to help you consolidate your focus and reduce the amount of noise that you see in the system due to an influx of alerts that generally happens during outages or just during the normal course of your operations. So when you log into Lightstep Incident Response, under the Automation tab on the left-hand side, you're going to find a new tab there in Automation called Grouping Rules. One grouping rule will be pre-built in this system. So there's a system automated alert grouping that the system does by default. You can decide if you want to turn that on or off by toggling this active field here. We recommend leaving it on before you create your own rules. But what it essentially does is it'll look at those alerts that come in, and if the service and metric name fields are matching for alerts that come in, it'll group those together, right? So this is an and, both those would need to be matching. But in our case, let's talk through creating our own alert grouping rule. One of the great flexibility points here is we can decide based on what we know about our environment, what are the conditions and the criteria for when we want the system to group our alerts together. So I'm going to click Create New Rule. We're going to say that this is a grouping rule for priority and service. It'll apply to either a specific service, a specific team, or all teams and services. So this means the alert comes in and it'll only group it when a specific service you picked is matched, a specific team you picked is matched, or it'll run for every alert that comes in. It doesn't matter what the value is for team or service. In our case, we're going to do a specific service. Specifically, we're going to look at the billing service here. So we only want this alert grouping rule to run for the billing service. Then we're going to define the rule time limit. So this is the time frame within which it groups alerts. 30 minutes means that when the first alert comes in and you get all kinds of additional alerts that match the criteria, they'll group. But after 30 minutes, when another alert comes in, it'll be considered a separate alert into a separate group. So it won't group those together. We'll leave it at 30 minutes. That's a general recommendation. And then we'll move into setting the grouping criteria. Now, today there's only two options here for grouping criteria. We have either a field match or a condition match. Field match means the value of the given field you're selecting is the same between an alert. So I'm going to select, as I mentioned, service, which we know it's running only for the billing service, so that should be the same. But I'm also going to do priority, right? And so just like that, we can see that both service and priority are selected. And that means that as these new alerts come in that are passing that initial condition I said in the details, which was it's a billing service issue, as long as that priority is the same, then it's going to group those together. And I could have also decided to run this for all groups and services and then left my service selection here in priority. That probably would have made more sense, because that way, if service is service A on 3 alerts with priority 1, they would have grouped together. But if it's service B on 3 alerts with priority 2, they also would have grouped together. In our case, though, we're just running it on that subset of services, which is the billing service. And I'm going to go ahead and save. And so one great way to test this out is to come in directly to a service. We can use this option here to send an alert. So I can click to send an alert, and I could say, for example, this is my test 1. Priority is going to be 2 or high. We're going to go ahead and submit that. And then we're going to send another one. It's going to be our test 2. And our priority is also going to be P2 high. So keep in mind 2 separate alerts, but we know the service is matching and we know the priority is matching. They're both P2 and the service is both billing service. So the system is going to be creating those alerts. And then when we take a look at our alerts page here, then we can see that there's my test 1, which was the first one that was inserted. And I could see that there is indeed one related alert, right? So I can even get the details in the alert timeline in terms of why this happened. Why did the system group it? Which is great because it adds that explainability. So later when the system's grouping things, you have a sense as to why it's doing it. So I could see that, hey, because of this grouping rule for priority and service that I just created, that's why the alert group was created and this additional alert was grouped together. So it's working just as expected. Let's take a look at the other type of alert grouping rule, which is condition based. Keep in mind, the one we just did was based off a field having the same value, but we don't care what the value is. All we care about is that they're matching. Condition based, on the other hand, looks at a specific value. So for example, we can look for specifically priority 5 or priority 4. And so we'll create a rule that automatically groups low priority alerts together. And so to do that, we're going to come back out here. Just for this example, we're going to deactivate the existing rule because keep in mind, rules will run from the lowest order to the highest order. So even if I had 2 alerts come in with P5, 2 with P4, those would still group together if they're for the same service because of this rule. So for this example, I'm going to deactivate this and create the new rule. And we're going to call it our low priority grouping. We're going to run this again for the specific service of our billing service. And we're going to leave it at 30 minutes. And this time though, we're going to do condition match. And we're going to say anytime our priority is 4 or 5, we are now going to run this and group it together. And so keep in mind, this condition match is very useful if there's specific terms you're after, like a tag, a short description, a description, a team. It could be additional information that passes through, like a metric type that you're after, or something in addition to an or condition, like multiple and conditions. So the condition match is great when there's explicit values you want to use for the grouping, and it's beyond just the fields having the same value. So here I'm going to save this, and we're going to go back to the alert. Let's send one now as a P4. We'll say this is our example. P4. We're going to send one more. Which is our P5. And we could see there's the P4 that was created. And we could see that there is a related alert, and it is that P5. And so both our alert grouping rules are running as expected. You can get the full context in the alert timeline to make sure it is behaving as expected and to get that explainability again on terms of why the alert grouping is happening. But fundamentally, alert grouping is a very important way for you to reduce the amount of noise, reduce the amount of records, and improve your focus so that you could work on one meaningful record, work in terms of your collaboration on one record, and keep those related alerts as context that could help you in your diagnosis and remediation. So, great new feature under automation, found here in Lightstep Incident Response, the ability to define your own alert grouping rules using this easy no-code builder. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments below, and we hope to see you in another Lightstep Incident Response overview video soon.
If you aren't using Lightstep Incident Response for your business yet, read more about it and what it can do at lightstep.com/incident-response and sign up for a free trial. Or learn more about how to start using incident response by reading the extensive product documentation.